In the dry-boned heart of the Wild West, where the winds carried more secrets than sand, a strange wagon rolled into the sunburned town of Dead Rock. It creaked like it bore the weight of nightmares. The locals stepped out of their homes and shops, eyes squinting against the haze. Painted in chipped red, the sides of the wagon screamed in bold letters. "See the wild mountain man. Half beast, half man, captured alive." Children stared with awe, mothers pulled them back, weathered cowboys paused mid-chew of tobacco. Even the sheriff crossed his arms, leaning on the porch rail of the saloon, eyes narrowed. The air felt thick, like something wrong had just entered town. That evening, just before sundown, the showman stood tall on a makeshift platform, slapping a whip against the side of the cage. "Ladies and gentlemen," he bellowed, "what we have here ain't no man. This here's the devil of Dead Horse Pass. Caught him myself, took 4 rifles, 3 bear traps, and 2 weeks of hell." With a theatrical pull, the curtain fell. Gasps, a few screams. Inside the iron-welded cage, chained at the wrists and ankles, was a man, or what used to be one. Massive, shoulders like granite, hair like a black waterfall tangled with leaves and dirt. His beard was wild, framing a face that looked carved from stone and torment. Scars, long, raw, painful stories, ran across his chest and arms. And his eyes were the worst of all. Blue, pale, empty, but not in a dead way. In a way that said something inside him had been buried deep and chained just like his limbs. He didn't growl, didn't roar, he just sat still, and whispered. Names, softly, over and over. Ella, Clara, Ella, Clara. No one knew what to make of it. Some said those were names of his victims. Others guessed they were ghosts chasing him in his dreams. Either way, folks stopped making eye contact. Even the bravest cowhands made a wide arc when passing his cage. That was until she came. A stagecoach pulled in 2 days later. Nothing special about it, but when the door opened, and a woman stepped down wrapped in black lace, the town seemed to pause again. She wore mourning clothes, head to toe in velvet shadows, a veil covering her face. Her boots were polished but dusty, as if she'd walked through grief itself to get here. She didn't go to the saloon. Didn't ask for lodging. She walked straight toward the square where the cage sat under the scorching afternoon sun. People watched from windows and porches, whispering like the wind itself was gossiping. She stopped right in front of him. And he looked up. For the first time, their eyes met, her breath caught, his lips trembled. "Ella," he rasped. The crowd stilled. Even the showman raised an eyebrow. She stepped closer. "You remember me?" she asked, voice clear and soft like a river after the flood. The mountain man blinked slowly, tears beginning to track through the dirt on his face. "I never forgot." The showman laughed. "Ain't that sweet? But I'm afraid love stories cost extra." She turned to him, slow and elegant. "I'll buy him," she said. "Lady, he ain't no trinket. He's the main act." She didn't argue, just reached beneath her glove and pulled out a small, gold ring. Simple, worn, the kind a man gives a woman when he has more love than money. The showman's grin faded. "This is all I have," she said. "And it's worth more than any coin." Because it was his. The town went dead silent. The showman scoffed. "You married to this thing? This beast?" She looked back at the man in the cage. Before the war, before the raiders, before he disappeared into the mountains and never came back. Then she turned to the people watching. "You all think he's a monster. But you don't know the man I knew. He built our home with his bare hands. He planted every seed in our field. He carried me to bed when I was sick. He held me when we buried our child." A murmur passed through the crowd. One old woman wiped a tear. "They came one night," she continued. "Burned our house. Left me for dead. I searched for him for years, until I heard stories about a creature in a cage." The showman spit, touching. "But he ain't for sale." And that's when it happened. The mountain man, who hadn't moved in days, reached out and gripped the bars. The metal screamed under his grip. With a guttural growl that sounded more pain than rage, he bent the bars apart like twigs. The crowd screamed and scattered. The sheriff drew his revolver but couldn't aim. He stepped out of the cage, chains dragging, breath heavy. Everyone braced for violence, but he didn't attack. He walked toward her. And then, he knelt. The chains clinked as he bowed his head and whispered, "Ella." She touched his face. "You're home now." And with that, the beast crumbled. His shoulders shook, not with fury, but with sobs. The sheriff lowered his gun. The showman cursed under his breath. And the townsfolk, once so sure of the monster in the cage, watched a man rise from the ashes of his own broken past. They left Dead Rock that evening, walking side by side. She no longer wore her veil. He walked without chains. Dust trailed behind them like the ghosts they'd both buried. Some say they went back to the mountains, built a new home. Some say he never spoke again, except to her. But those who were there that day never forgot what they saw. Because they didn't just witness the escape of a beast. They witnessed the return of a man. And all it took was a woman brave enough to offer her ring to a cage.